Good afternoon and welcome to another Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation's Young Lions virtual sessions. I am your host, Michael Pernodal. I am delighted here to have one of our favorites here, a regular, that is Tyler Wertman. And today's topic is jazz composition for beginners. So if you're joining us live, don't forget, share this with someone else. Bring your friends, bring your bandmates. We would love for them to join in. If you have any questions, you can go in. There's a chat feature and just type it in there. And we're going to leave some time near the end to be able to answer any questions. You know, this would be possible without our sponsors. So we just want to say, please be sure to check out the studio archives or past video sessions at clearwaterjazz.com education/outreach section. That's brought to you by Blue Water Wealth Management at Stewart Partners and Duke Energy, as well as our Young Lions podcast, wherever you stream. That's brought to you by our friends over there at Marine Max Clearwater. And just search Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions wherever you stream. You know, where can I start here? You know, Tyler's brought us so many great sessions, and of course you can go back into the archives and check them out. But here's just a few, just to name some. Basic trombone fundamentals. He talked about long tones, lip slurs, tongue and articulation, major scales, you name it. He also touched upon improvisation, fundamentals, which we all know how important they are. And even he touched the business side. So if you want to hear more about that, go back in there, check those sessions out. And if you don't know who the great Tyler Wertman is, he is a trombonist, and he specializes in many styles, jazz and classical. He's an instructor at the University of Tampa, where he's teaching jazz and also introduction to music. And awesome educator. We love him here at Clearwater Jazz. And as far as his credentials, guess where he graduated from? He has a Bachelor's of Art from Florida State University. And he didn't stop there. He kept going. And he had a Master's of Music and Jazz Studies from USF. And I think that's all we need to know about him, because we want to hear about some jazz composition for beginners. So if you're ready, buckle up, because you're about to be entertained and educated at the same time. Tyler Wertman, stage is all yours.
Well, the information is certainly entertaining, Mike. Thank you again for always doing a wonderful job hosting these sessions. It's always a pleasure to get to work with you. Clearwater Jazz, our sponsors, we definitely couldn't do this without them, right? And so let's get going. Today is basically a beginner's side of viewing composition, arrangements, things of this nature. Maybe you thought about composing in the past. Maybe composition is your main bag, so to speak, and maybe you feel stronger in composition than your instrument. And there's so many different facets of composition that's just very, very wonderful. So first and foremost is, I have students that ask the same question, is why should I compose, right? I don't need to compose in this case. Okay. And, you know, more or less, no, you don't really need to compose. However, if you do start composing, you will find that your composition sound will be different than your playing sound or style. Maybe it's due to limited vocabulary, limited approaches to arranging a trumpet section, a full saxophone section. Just like when we're first starting out on our instrument, maybe we only know, 2 or 3 lines to play over E minor, for instance, instead of maybe thinking of scales, chords, things of this nature to progress past those basic maybe stopping points. Okay, and so composition is exactly the same. And so I definitely encourage students to approach composition in some manner. This doesn't necessarily mean jazz. Okay, now I do play many different styles. I play in classical groups. I also play in pit orchestras. And so if your composition and your focus may be through one of those different genres, well then, don't force yourself to write in a genre you don't like. You won't enjoy it as much. And so you will learn and enjoy the music. And so that's really important, is to do things that you enjoy, whether that's practicing, playing, or writing. It could be, compositions for your church, right? You could be writing different horn arrangements, things like that. And again, all of these different facets, well, they're monetary avenues as well. You will start to generate, maybe a small amount of income from these arrangements. And if you're also a player, well, that's another check as well. And as a musician, we need to understand the different routes and avenues we can take in making as much money on, our knowledge of music as possible, if this is something you truly want to do for a career. And that's something that was taught to me early on at Florida State, like you mentioned, but from the great Leon Anderson. He is the head of jazz over there. And he just, instilled that in himself at a very early age. Is he wants to make, his career path with music. How can you do that? It's more than just, I want to be the best player I can be. Generally, that's everybody's goal, right? So how else are we going to support ourselves? And that's really important as well. As an arranger and a composer, man, this is just another facet that can really assist you. Okay. And it will help you learn. And so, right. So it's a way to make money, essentially. Composition is a way to grow musically as well, and grow in terms of, the people that which is very important. So again, this will help maybe your theory, and it's really important for early, arrangers and composers to not try to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. That's something that I hear an awfully lot of, is that the few second or third, fourth, arrangements of a new composer is just, it's too much, so to speak. The melodies can't truly speak because there's just so much involved. And so this brings us to, where's a good starting point? Then if I'm just getting started with arrangements and compositions, okay, I might have the genre that I like, right? We mentioned all these different groups, but let's just say, keep this in the jazz realm for now. There's so many different groups for jazz that we can write for. And with these groups in mind, well, maybe we shouldn't dive into big band composition, off the bat. Maybe we need to work up to writing for, 5 saxes, 4 bones, 5 trumpets, full rhythm section, vibraphone guitar, right? We need to work up to things of this nature. So again, start slow. Okay. Don't feel bad about maybe writing for one voice, right? Working on your melody structure. That's really important. Understand how you compose melodies. Do you compose melodies from singing the melody first and then maybe playing music after, finding those chords, finding that harmony that you're looking for? Or do you have a chord progression in mind? Right. And then maybe you'll establish your chord progression and then create a melody on top of that chord progression. There's so many different ways to compose. And in order to find your style, well, you have to just write. There's no shortcuts to it. That brings me to my next point, is write. I definitely encourage you guys to write as much material as you can without overloading yourself, obviously. But again, if we're keeping things simple, maybe writing just melodies, writing head tunes, right? 12-bar blues heads, for instance, that is a great place to start for young jazz musicians. Or maybe writing over some chord changes taken from standards that you're practicing at your school, right? Maybe you're practicing blue bossa for an Afro-Cuban style. Okay, that's wonderful. You can maybe compose your own melody over those same chord changes. Okay, and actually, if you're in a combo right at your school and you bring a melody like that, even if it's just the melody written out for trumpet, trombone, whoever's in your group, everyone should know the basic structure, but we can play a different tune, right? And this is really, really great because now we're just creating melodies over established chord changes and styles that have been around long enough for other musicians to pick it up. So we're not really learning, a whole new tune. It's just sort of a different arrangement that becomes your composition. Again, it's all about where to start. And that's really important. Also, write as much as you can because you won't like and love everything that you compose. That's just, that's just a fact. Do you love everything that you play as a musician? Even, at a professional level, we strive for that, right? For every note to be as 100% accurate, perfect, intonation wise, dynamic wise, balance wise, but things happen sometimes. And so it's all about making those mistakes as least as possible. We also have, different ways of approaching maybe confidence with writing. Maybe you're just not confident with what you're putting down on the pen and paper. Well, definitely recommend you guys play what you are composing. Don't just sort of think of these lines, write them down and bring them in. Please do not do that. I'm not telling you to do that. We need to create these melodies internally. And a way to do this is either by your instrument or piano. I love piano for arrangements and compositions because you can get the whole spectrum right at your fingertips. And if you have maybe a score paper, or score sheets up on top, well, maybe you can compose a melody, find those chords, and then sort of notate things as you go along, right? Scratch ideas, things like this, circle what you like, maybe cross out what you don't like. This is a great way of keeping track of your musical thoughts. It's near impossible to keep track of everything that we think of musically. However, if we notate this stuff, write these things down, we can always draw back, right? Oh, what was I working on, in November of 2018? I think I was writing this tune. It was really cool. It was an A minor. And then we went up to E flat major on the bridge. And I can't remember that tune. You'll stay searching. But if we've, notated these things in a simple composition book, even, and just notated and journalized our practice, we could go back. Oh yeah, that's right. I wrote that down. It was minor 1, and and then we went to the 4. We had a 2-5 into the E flat. So it can help you remember these things as well. Okay. And yeah, definitely dive in, to composition in your own realm. Okay. Again, because you will be more comfortable of these things. For instance, if you're in jazz band, again, don't start composing for symphony orchestra unless maybe you're in the symphony orchestra and you've played quite a bit of material that you're influenced to a point where you can approach these things. But remember, guys, start slow. Definitely start slow and don't be afraid to. There's nothing wrong with that. The last thing I'll say for, a beginning composer or arranger is share your work, right, to as many people as you can, and get that constructive feedback and criticism back from these individuals, okay, from everyone, from maybe, the personnel in the band, your lead, trumpet player or your lead alto sax. He might say, hey, this is written a little too high here. This is written too low for a trumpet part, so to speak. And take that criticism, right? Notate these things, write these things down, and go back and make the corrections as soon as possible, because we'll be always sort of manipulating and altering, compositions, trying to make them better, so to speak. Because in a way, oddly enough, they're almost like we're writing down solos, so to speak, right? And so we're always trying to find that best group of notes, right? Accents, dynamics, to express the music that we're, striving to achieve in composition. And that's a really fun thing too. Just like when we're soloing, we're striving to achieve a sound and emotion through experiences, through our horn. Well, it's the same thing through arrangement and composition. Mike, how do you feel about arranging?
How do I feel about arranging? I think it's a very necessary skill to have, especially if you are let's put it into the perspective of a band director. With these days in education, we don't walk into these perfect classrooms. And you may have some abnormal instrumentation, and you're going to have to get in there and figure out how to, arrange to fit your band. So that's a skill that's well needed when it comes to arranging. Or you may hear something a little different, or you want to do something original. So being able to have that in your tool belt, I think that's a very powerful thing. And, you definitely have to study some of the greats and why did they put the voice in here and not that other voice? Why did they do it in the trombones here? Or why did they bring in a flute to match with a trumpet for that sound? There's so many different avenues when it comes to that. But I think the best arrangers are the ones that study the greats, but also, have some originality in there too. Because we want to hear you, we want to hear your thoughts. I mean, can we say there's wrong answers to this question? Sometimes I've heard some things that are a little out there. But, you may be the next Sammy Nestico, you may be the next Thad Jones, and we just don't know until you try. So if that's you saying, hey, should I try this? The answer is absolutely yes. You should jump into this. You may surprise yourself what may come out.
Well said.
So, but I like what you said about don't reinvent the wheel, because there are some things there that's in place to like say, hey, let's do that. So
what possibly can't, everything I know on B flat 7, I'm going to put it down on the paper. Right. You've heard that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, it's definitely a thing that, we want to have some structure. We want to have a standard in there, but, know the rules, but take the risk. Let's say that. Know the rules, but take a risk. Yep.
And that's with the analyzing, as you're saying, how do composers utilize maybe the thirds of the chords, right? What voicings are they putting that in? What about are they using the roots at all? Maybe they're using just upper extensions. If they are, what extensions? And again, through that analysis, you'll find those rules, right?
Absolutely. So here's a question that came in, Tyler. So at Florida State, I know you mentioned your mentor, helped you with, arranging and things like that. So the question was, how do you get out of writer's block? If you're just not coming up with good ideas, how do you set yourself, away from that to get out of that thing?
Yeah, no, that is an excellent question. And I've ran into this, countless times here. So composition, right? It's not playing. And that's the beauty of it for me. As an instrumentalist and arranger and composer, I can try to write out, certain melodies, things like that come from my inner soul in being of music, quote unquote, which is the same thing that I pull from when I solo and improvise, but it's a little different. It's almost like one side's coming from the left, hemisphere, one side's coming from the right. I know that's technically not a thing, or it might be. I'm no brain surgeon, or doctor. So when I do have this writer's block, I'll often break out my trombone, maybe just play some different things on top of these chords that are hanging me up, this passage, this line, so to speak, try in different ways. And what's really important as well is not just to play and play and play and play. Maybe you might find something, but maybe to record as well, because when you are composing, you will maybe play something that you like, and maybe it was 20 minutes early, and if you didn't write that down, just like we talked about, well, you won't have access to that melody. You have to go and search for that thing, right? And it's all about utilizing our time wisely. Again, we don't want to be in the practice room 9 hours writing this 12-bar blues melody, right? We sort of want to find out efficient ways to get this information out. And, writer's block can be a deterring point for a lot of young composers. They just don't know how to overcome that hurdle. And if you don't play and you don't feel as confident on your instrument, put down that composition or what you're working on that's giving you the writer's block. Go do something else. Go literally do anything else. Or do you love cooking? Go make something, right? Go bake something. Do you love sports? Go play golf. I guarantee you will not be thinking about whatever writer's block out there if you're playing golf and you're having a bad day. You're going to be thinking about, why am I out here playing golf? But if you're having a great day too, out there kicking the soccer ball, you're just going through so many different things that will refresh your mind. Go hang out with some family, whatever it is for you. Just try something different. And then when you come back, you might have a refreshed approach on things. So that's just a couple ways I would get over writer's block.
That's a great answer. So, one other thing that they could do is they can go to the past archives of our show here.
100% correct.
I mean, you think about all the resources that are there.
Countless.
You can go to clearwaterjazz.com/education and you can check out all these sessions, which are, guess what? Free. And then you can hear all these great composers. You can hear all these great educators, and they can give you so many tips. That's something to get out of writer's block, and just dive into that, and just set yourself free from that. So whether you have a good day or a bad day, there's tons of things there for you to be able to go into. But we want to thank you, Sir Tyler Wertman, for this great session on composition. I know it's something that's not talked about all the time. Everyone likes to just play, but we still need great writers. I mean, how is the music going to stay alive without great creative writers? So
Do you want band directors to write the music that you're playing? That's the question I ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that everybody is going to go out, and maybe today is going to be your first day to write your first piece. It don't have to be a long one. It don't have to be a big, huge band piece. It can be a combo. It can be a solo piece. You have the freedom to write and create. So we want to thank you, Tyler, for this great session. And we want to remind everyone, go to our archives. And if there's something that you want to hear more about, say there's a topic we haven't covered yet and you just want to hear about that, or you want to tell us how great Tyler Wertman is, or you just enjoy these sessions, how about you email us at info@clearwaterjazz.com. We would love to hear from you. I always love to hear from my listeners. Until next time, I've been your host, Michael Kernodle. This has been Tyler Wertman. Thank you again. And until next time, everybody, keep it swinging. Have an awesome, awesome day. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.